What's up, y'all? We are back. This is episode 5 of the Milwaukee Brewers Out of the Park Baseball 25 series. We're here May 19th, 2026. Your Brewers are 25-10, off to a great start here in the new season here. And it's been so far so good. See, we're fourth in runs scored, first in runs against. And it's been an excellent start. Check out our April 13-5 so far in May, 12-5. So, yeah, I mean, nothing to really complain about. The rotation's been fantastic outside of Chase Silseth. But even he's shown signs of improvement recently. And we do have other guys we can bring in if we want, but I want to give him a little bit more run, see how he does. George Kirby has been the worst of the starters, but it's only because of a bad stretch here. He got off to a great start to the season. His April stats don't even really tell the full story. He got off to really nice start in his first few starts to the season. His first 3 were really good, and then his last 4 not so good, but he has had a couple decent ones recently, so still think he's going to be great. Not really concerned. Freddie Peralta's been incredible to begin the season. It's just going to be a shame that we probably won't be able to afford to bring him back. But yeah, we'll pick up a comp pick and, we'll try to win it all with him this year. Tanner Bybee's honestly probably been our best pitcher. I guess Peralta's been incredible too, but Bybee's been right there with him. A string of very good starts. His really only bad one on the year was this 7 runs in 4 innings. Besides that, he's been essentially lights out. See, 6 no runs, 6 2-runs, 9 innings shutout. Had that one bad start and 7 1/3 shutout to back that up, and then 8 innings, 3 runs, and a win, and then 7 shutout and a 14-1 win. So he's been incredible. Really just the one bad start. And then DL Hall also has been great. 2.91 ERA. So, those guys have been really good. Chase Silseth, he struggled with the walks and the home runs. The strikeouts are still pretty good, but we'll have to monitor him moving forward. I at least want to give him a few more starts before we make any other moves. And then the bullpen. It's been mostly good. So Aaron Ashby right now is our closer. We'll get to McGill. He went down with a minor enough injury where I'm not too concerned, but Ashby will step into the closer's role for now. And last, his only outing as the closer, he was shut out through 1 inning in a 1-0 win. Jacob Mazorski's been really, really good, bouncing back after a tough season last year, this time in full-time relief to begin the year. Gabe Spire's just been an incredible pickup at last year's deadline, has not allowed a home run yet this year. He's been awesome. Cole Reagans has struggled. It's still a small sample size, only 12 innings. He hasn't been used too much, but a guy that, we can cut bait with if we want, but I still like him. And, he's a good leader, spark plug, good work ethic. And Thiago Vieira has barely been used just because we really haven't needed him because our rotation's been so good. But when he's been out there, he's been good. Nick Robertson, kind of the same story with him. They just haven't really used him at all. And Abner Uribe has been okay when he's been out there. Not incredible or anything, but he's been good. And then Bradley Blaylock just got called up with the injury to McGill. He's pitched 3 innings, really good, in that one appearance. And then, Trevor McGill went down, day-to-day injury, strained forearm. I just didn't, really want to risk it with him. He wasn't pitching too well or anything. Did have a couple bad blow-up games, but overall wasn't horrible or anything for the most part. And then, we'll get to the offense here, but let's start with Brock Wilken, who played pretty seldomly to begin the year, just kind of as the weak side platoon guy over at first base. But he was hitting well in those at-bats that he was getting, but did wind up going down pretty early in the year, out for 4 to 5 weeks. He'll be back in about a week. Probably send him on a short rehab assignment, and he'll be back with the team. As for the rest of the offense, it's been a lot of good. So Jackson Chourio has led the way. He's been awesome. His start to the year was just insane. A 184 WRC plus in April. So far in May has been really good as well. The only problem is his defense and center hasn't been great, but he hasn't been a complete liability out there yet. Juan Soto has followed up his really good last season with another good one here. Still is struggling out in the field. He hasn't been too bad yet, but the bat's definitely been there. I would like him to get that average up a little bit, but he's walking 22% of the time. It's pretty ridiculous. And then Noelvi Marte did get hurt for a little bit, but when he's been out there, he's been a difference maker offensively. He went out for 2 weeks, but when he's been in the lineup, it's been a completely different team. On pace for 3 WAR in just 100 games projected. So if he puts up those numbers, that'll be a huge win in that trade. Garrett Mitchell, now a full-time platoon guy this year, has hit well against lefties when he's been out there, but he's definitely better against righties. And he's been great to start the season, on pace for 4 WAR. William Contreras is having a huge bounce-back year after a pretty disappointing season last year. Off to a really good start. Would like him to tick up that walk rate. He's only at 3.7%. He's more of a career 10% guy. If he can get back to those numbers, he'll be a huge factor. Ryan McMahon, another guy who's been a huge pickup, on pace for 2.5 WAR. Hasn't really played great defense yet, minus 1.6 zone rating, but definitely think there's better days ahead for him defensively. And with the bat, he's definitely held his own. A huge bounce back after a miserable season last year in Colorado. And we really bought low on him. It's worked out. Carlos Correa got off to a rough start. His April was not pretty. Just a 63 WRC+, but so far in May, he's totally bounced back. Looking like the guy we traded for last offseason. And overall, a good year to start. He's played well in the field as well. 3.9 zone rating in 32 games. Then we have Mauricio Dubon, who's actually wound up playing quite a bit with Wilkin being out. And some other guys like Yelich underperforming. We'll get to him in a second. But Dubon, he's held his own out there. He's playing some left field, some right field. Played a little bit of infield as well. But he definitely has not been bad. Yelich has been, under league average with the bat. The glove doesn't really bring much. He's barely played the field. A little bit of first base. But yeah, he just hasn't really been good this year. Hopefully he can turn things around because we definitely need him. Jefferson Kiro, definitely not as good with the bat this year. Defensively, he's been fine. Would like a little bit more, but the pitching staff's been good with him behind the plate, so I'm not going to change up anything or, make any drastic moves like putting Contreras back behind the plate. But that could happen. We'll see. And the rest of the team is not really too much to talk about. Blake Perkins has been disappointing this season. Once again, he just really hasn't done much in his 3 seasons up. Xavier Warren is the guy we called up for Wilkin, I believe. I think so. Or is there someone on rehab? Oh, sorry. Yeah, we TFA'd Tim Anderson. He wasn't horrible or anything, but I just wanted to get a new body in there. And that wound up being Noah Miller, who's a good defensive player. Not horrible with the bat, although he has been horrible with the bat. At least in theory, he shouldn't be that bad. The BABIP's been low, but a good defensive player. We got him. Did I even talk about this trade? Or we claimed him off waivers at the end of last season. I don't know if I talked about this. But he's 23 years old. Claimed him off waivers from the Dodgers. And then, Xavier Warren hasn't really done much yet again. He got a little bit of run last year, didn't do anything either, so maybe just a quad A guy, we'll see. Also, I guess didn't really hit that well in AAA, but was good last year. Only 5 plate appearances in the minors, so. That's where we stand so far, about a month and a half into the year. Again, we're 25-10. We're 2 games up on the Cardinals, and then 6 games up on the Cubs. Reds and Pirates haven't been horrible, so that's that. So I don't really know if there's much else to talk about. Things are kind of going pretty smoothly, and we'll just wait until things go poorly. But yeah, we're gonna keep moving forward. We'll be back with an update probably sometime, maybe early July. All right, we're back June 17th here, 2026. The Brewers are 39-22, up 3 games in the NL Central over the Cardinals. And it's been a really good, nice little run here. We had a really good May, 19-10. We finished out the month, and then June so far, it's been a little rough, 7-7. We have had a couple rough games. We lost 2 out of 3 here against, 3 out of 4 against Cincinnati, lost a series here against Pittsburgh, and just lost a series against St. Louis, but did open the month really strong with 5 straight wins here. So, it's been a bit of a mixed bag, but we did just pick up a 4-0 win against the Cardinals. George Kirby pitched outstanding, and Abner Uribe pitched well out of the bullpen as well. So, we are here in June, and we're getting closer to when we need to start making some decisions on what we're going to do here in the second half. So right now, shortstop has been a bit of a revolving door. Carlos Correa is due back. We're sending him on a short rehab. He's only played 1 game down there. Probably give him 3 games. I'd expect him to be back after this 2-game set against Detroit. So that'll fix the shortstop problem, but we have been out without him for about 3 weeks now, which has been tough because we've been forced to kind of put Daniel Golarte in there, who's really not ready to be a starting shortstop in the league. Then we've had Noah Miller had to step in, and he wasn't nearly as bad as he was to start the year. He's a replacement level player, but a 37 WRC plus. And he wound up getting hurt. He went down for 2 weeks. So Tim Anderson, we DFA'd him, but we wound up bringing him back. And he's played much, much better since we slotted him as our starting shortstop. He's still not good, but he at least held down the position for a few weeks. I'm not sure what's going to happen when Correa comes back. We'll probably send out Miller, and keep Anderson for the moment. But yeah, besides him, it's been like nothing to really complain about with the lineup. Yelich has been not good, but we're trying to mix in Brock Wilken a little bit more. He's playing every 3rd game at DH against lefties or against righties, and then every game against lefties here. So, he's going to be mixing in a lot more for Yelich here, which will help out our offense a ton, I presume, because Wilken has been excellent when he's been out there, but he missed some time at the beginning of the year. And then the rest of the lineup, it's been really good. Jefferson Kiro has been better, 85 WRC plus. If he gives us that, we'll be happy. I'd like a little bit more, but it's not horrible. I guess like Mauricio Dubon from the weak side of this left field platoon that we have working with him and Garrett Mitchell, that could probably be upgraded. He hasn't been too good, but he's not a complete black hole, I guess. But you got like Juan Soto, who I kind of called him out last episode to bump up his batting average, and he has. He was up to 280 at one point or so. Now down to 268, but still an excellent season. Walking 22% of the time is just ridiculous. 152 WRC plus. The defense doesn't even matter that much, although I would like to get him out of right field, but don't really have a choice at the moment. Then Garrett Mitchell, this dude's just a complete stud when we platoon him, I guess, because last year he was a full-time player, wasn't very good. The year before he was a platoon guy and was excellent. This year, kind of same story. He's not even particularly bad against lefties. Like, he's hitting quite well, but maybe it's just something playing part-time. I'm not really sure, but we're not gonna change that at this point. He's been too good. We talked about Brock Wilken. He's been good when he's been out there. William Contreras having a big bounce-back year. On pace for 32 homers, 118 WRC plus, and honestly playing a perfect role because we need him at a valuable. He is a batter that's good enough to play first base, but he's also our catcher every 5th game or so. So that's incredibly valuable what he brings on the defensive side of the ball, and also a really good hitter. So no complaints with him. Jackson Chourio has fallen off pretty significantly since a hot start. His June was not good, a 49 WRC plus. So we're going to need a little bit more out of him if we're going to be serious contenders here. And our kind of fall from grace from the first month has kind of coincided with his in-season decline. But, the overall numbers on the year still aren't bad. He's 3rd on the team in WAR, behind Mitchell and Soto. So the outfield has not been an issue. And then Blake Perkins, man, what a surprise he's been, and what a turnaround he's had. He wasn't unplayed. I guess he felt unplayable the first 2 months, but in June, so far, he's been excellent. And he's kind of mixing in left field. And he's our backup outfielder against righties, and then he's playing every other game with Dubon. Let's actually increase his playing time just a little bit. Make Dubon the backup outfielder. And do something like this, because Perkins has been really good. We like to keep his bat in the order. And then Ryan McMahon, a really solid season. Coming over from Colorado after a rough year. Still wanted defense to improve. He hasn't been good, but we'll hope he can improve there. Also, I was just thinking, okay. Yeah, we're going to do that. Okay. I would like our defense to improve. It's weird how our infield defense, at least with McMahon, and then, I don't know. It feels like something's off with our defense right now, but McMahon will probably turn things around. Then Noel Marte, I talked about him a little bit, or quite a bit last episode, or at the beginning of this episode, I should say. He's just been a really, really solid player over at second base. Pretty much everything we could have asked for. Again, not a great defender or anything. But what we got him for, Shane Smith, hasn't really been playing too well for Cincy. There's probably better days ahead for him, but getting him and then Tyler Wozner, looks like they released. Interesting. But getting him for those two, I mean, that's a huge steal at the moment, at least in my opinion. We talked about Yelich. He hasn't been very good. Hasn't been a complete dumpster fire or anything, but just not the production he's given us the last 2 years. And yeah, that's the offense. And then the pitching. There's a lot of good to talk about. But we'll start with the bad. Just get that out of the way. Chase Silseth, I have him demoted to the bullpen. I thought he was starting to turn things around. He had a couple good starts in a row, then just got completely destroyed and cost us a game in St. Louis, or against St. Louis, where we scored 7 runs, but he gave up 6. Just giving up way too many home runs. There's a chance he makes it back to the rotation this year, but the peripherals don't look good. He's given up way too many homers, too many walks. He'll be moved back to the bullpen for now. And that gives Bradley Blaylock a shot. He came up and has pitched 14 innings and been really good, so we'll see what he can bring. He was good last season when we started him. There's really no reason to think that he can't repeat those numbers again. And then the rest of the rotation, you can see, it really speaks for itself. These ERAs are just spectacular. George Kirby's turned it around after a mediocre start. He wasn't bad, but has really turned things around. He's on pace for 242 innings straight out of like 2001, like a Randy Johnson type of season. I guess it's like a Greg Maddux type of season with the low walk rates and everything. Yeah, he's been awesome. Freddie Peralta has been incredible. Really bouncing back after a mediocre season last year, returning back his 2024 form. I'm glad I didn't trade him because, even if we don't extend him, he gives us a good chance to win this year. Tanner Bybee has had a rough little stretch here. His ERA has inflated, but overall in the year, he's been a really, really quality number 3 starter. If DL Hall hasn't passed him up at this point, because he's been awesome. Even despite a couple rough starts in a row here, he had a 2.57 ERA going into those 2 games. Now up to 3.10, still really good. And he's been excellent this season. The bullpen, we still have not been able to figure out a good combination out here. So, see a good amount of new names. Trevor McGill did go down for a little bit. He's come back into the closer's role. You can see he got hurt after this game. Missed about 3 weeks or so. Has come back. Hasn't been very good. He missed almost a month. These were rehab starts. It's been a mixed bag since he's been back. And then, Abner Uribe is our 8th inning guy at the moment. Still have faith in him, but, man, he's got to prove something here. Hasn't been a great season for him. I think he'll turn things around. Nick Robertson, he's been thrust in the 7th inning role. Really just not that type of guy. You see the FIP is outrageous at this point. Way too many homers. Kind of had the same problem last year as well, so I don't know if that's going to change or if that's just part of his game. And then Aaron Ashby has had an up and down year. He lost his closer's role right here, 5 runs in 2/3 of an inning, to really blow this game. It was a tie game. He had 5 runs. It sucks, but he's still a valuable enough pitcher. And we have Thiago Vieira, who's been up with the team all year. He's been solid, actually quite solid. I wish they would actually pitch him a little bit more, so let's push for that. And then the rest of the bullpen's kind of been a shit show. We have Carlos Rodriguez here, who's up with the team. His first outing was about as bad as it gets. Four runs, didn't get a single out. But his last 2 games have been much better. Going to give him a little bit of run here, see how he does. And then Mason Flaherty up with the team. Just hasn't pitched a ton yet, but we'll see how he turns out. As for other guys who've been up with the team, Robert Gasser finally made his MLB debut. He was good, but he threw a ton of pitches, just sent him down. Jacob Mazurski, yikes, it got bad quick. This string of 3 games was just, honestly, 4 games. It was just too much, so we had to send him down. He'll be back up at some point, but I just could not keep running him out there with how he was pitching. Brian Hudson, he made 1 appearance, was pretty good in 2 2/3. Elvis Peguero was up for an inning. Cole Reagans, we sent him down. I didn't realize he had options, but he did. Actually has quite a few option years left, but he wasn't really any good. We signed him to a decent little contract, $1.2 million. Not nothing. But yeah, he wasn't really any good. So we sent him down. Russell Smith hasn't been up with the team yet, but definitely could be. So yeah, that's kind of been the pitching. Still trying to figure out that bullpen. It has been tough. There's really nothing out there on the free agent market. Like Michael Wacha. I wonder if they'd offer him a minor league deal. But I would look at the trade block. We're still a little bit out from being at a point where we're going to make any trades. But, I see Devin Williams out here. I get excited. He's had a rough season, but only on a 1-year deal. I definitely think there's better days ahead for him. I don't think he's going to walk 9.4 guys per 9, but let's get a scouting report because this seems really fishy. The low strikeout rates, the really, really high walk rates. Yeah, we just got to see what kind of guy he is. Looks like he got hurt last year. So we traded him to the Guardians in the Bybee trade. Signed with the Blue Jays. Interesting. Okay. Well, we'll see what he looks like. Pablo Lopez, definitely a guy I'm looking at. He's a free agent after next season, so we get a little bit of team control with that. We'll send out a scouting report for him. Joel Payamps is out for the year. Urseg is out for the year as well. Kyle Finnegan, not a huge fan of his. Trevor Gott's not horrible. I like Mark Leiter quite a bit. He's an older but controllable reliever, so we'll put in a scouting report for him. Tim Miza, another guy I like as a Yankees fan. Total stud. He's on a multi-year deal. Very interesting. Still not against trading for that. Keegan Aiken, he's not bad. He looks like he's a starter for Cleveland. And Walker Buehler, a real poor man's George Kirby. He's having a good year though, and he's with Seattle. So yeah, there's a couple different ways we can look for some help. Low-key kind of like this guy if they're willing to sell low. And from the offensive side, I mean, we're really looking for that weak side platoon outfielder, backup outfielder. A guy like Andrew Vaughn's not horrible, but he's just not a good defender out there. We have a ton of those guys already. If they're willing to sell low, it might not be a bad guy to look into. I'm guessing Bo Bichette's going to be too expensive for us. Just out of curiosity, might be doable. We'll see. I'll put in a scouting report for him. Mitch Garver, I mean, he's not very exciting, but he has some pop. He's not bad against lefties for sure. And he can back up at catcher, which is interesting. How did Hoskins wind up doing? He hamstring tendonitis. Had a really bad year for Seattle, and he traded him last year. So far this year, he's playing well, but got hurt. George Springer's a first baseman now. Jeez. How the mighty have fallen. Holy crap. He's not even a good defensive outfielder anymore, but he does hit lefties okay. If they eat a lot of the contract, it might not be bad. So, yeah, we'll start there. We'll get some scouting done on those dudes and kind of gear up for the deadline. And, we'll be back at that point, 39 and 22, and we'll see you sometime in July. All right, so we have our first trade lined up. It's July 8th, 2026. We're 50 and 30 at the moment. So this is an interesting name that I kind of came across. Shane McClanahan. He's only a 45 overall, 45 potential guy. And it looks like something happened in the offseason. I'm not sure what detrimentally completed training to increase his velocity means. I don't know if that means it went up, but he's 97, 99, so very interesting. But he did lose a lot of control in his most recent scouting report by us. He lost, in a couple recent scouting reports, he's went from a 60 to a 50. So, he's not an amazing control guy, and also his movement's gone way down. So he's definitely not the pitcher he once was, which makes sense. He's struggling this year. He's walking 4 guys per 9, which is higher than he typically does. But I think there's still upside here. I haven't checked the Rays' catching situation. Rene Pinto's a fine defensive catcher, so maybe that has nothing to do with it. But I think there's some upside in McClanahan here. And, he's only arbitration. He's not on a big contract or anything. They're going to eat 60% of his contract this year. And we're not giving up too much. We are going to give up Aaron Ashby. He's probably the biggest piece here. Kind of trading salaries here. Ashby is under control for 4 more seasons, 3 more guaranteed, which, this isn't a ton of money, but it's also not nothing for the Brewers. So a guy that I'm definitely okay giving up and kind of a throw into this deal. And then this team option, who knows if we even pick that up. It's $13 million. But he's been a nice swingman for us the last 2.5 seasons. But we could probably do better with our money. We're also giving up Dylan O'Ray, who's an interesting player, has a lot of speed, good defense, but no power to speak of. And I just don't really think he works as a major league player. And also Jonathan India, a little throw in here, 29-year-old. He's a fine player, but doesn't really have a spot on our team with his defense. So we're going to flip him for McClanahan. Maybe he can bounce back. Maybe he doesn't. Worst case, we non-tender him at the end of the year. Or if he's really good, we, maybe give him that $8.7 million next year in arbitration. So a really nice buy low move. Our assistant GM agrees. That'll be like our pitching pickup here. Bradley Blaylock hasn't been horrible, although he's had 3 bad starts, 1 really good one, but he'll lose his spot in the rotation as a result of this trade. We'll throw McClanahan in, and then Blaylock will move back to the bullpen. We did also make another trade. Mark Leiter, we brought him in. I kind of mentioned him in the most recent update as a guy I was targeting. Did not have to go really anything to get him. We have a 20-year-old minor leaguer. We could have given up worse guys, but I wanted to give him at least someone interesting enough. He's not interesting by any means, but he's a 20-year-old. At least it would make sense for them to make that deal. So, we pick up Leiter. They eat a bit of his contract, only 15%. He's making 3.3, so a decent amount of money, but he's arbitration eligible. If you want to bring him back next year, we can. Those are the 2 pitching trades we've made. We'll see how this bullpen goes into the trade deadline. It's always easier to pick up relievers than it is to the easiest position to pick up. And we also have some guys in the minors that I'm cool bringing up if we need some arms. So that's where we are here. The draft is in a few days, so we'll sum up to that. We have the series against San Diego that just started. We won 3-1 in the first game, and it was a really good start by Bradley Blaylock. It's unfortunate that he's going to lose his spot here, but I think this works better for us long term. We win game 2, 4-1. Jackson Chourio, after the last update, he was kind of struggling, has really taken off in the last month or so. You see the rest of June is really, really good. I think he had like a 40 WRC plus throughout like the first 2 weeks. Yeah, he finished incredibly strong. So far in July has been insanely good. So loving what we're getting from him. Juan Soto has been awesome as well. And the rest of the lineup playing really well. So a 4-1 win. We're looking to win the series here with Freddie Peralta on the mound, game 3. And we lose 8-4. Tough game here. Peralta wasn't great, and then Mark Leiter gave 6 hits in inning and 2/3. Nick Robertson also was not good. He's really struggled this season. Might be a guy we look to move out. But he's still cheap and still controllable. Maybe we just send him to the minors. But game 4 here in the series, looking to take it. Tanner Bybee on the mound, who has struggled a bit since a really good start to the year. And we'll see if we can win the series. And we do not. We lose 8-3. Noel and Marte, our only real offense here. A home run, 3 RBIs. Having a great season, though. So we can't be too upset with him. But Tanner Bybee, not good in this one. His ERA goes to 4.76 on the year. Vieira and Hudson, good in relief or whatever that counts. But not a good start by Bybee. And we have the first-year player draft today, so let's jump into it. We have the 11th pick, so an early draft pick. You don't know how many of these you'll get throughout OOTP saves, so it's always cool to have one. So let's jump in, and we'll see how the draft class looks. And so far, so good. You see a lot of good players. Maybe not the highest-end talent, but I mean, this guy's sick if he dropped to us at 11. Grady Emerson's a really nice player. So I don't think this is the first good draft class, like really good draft class, but this definitely looks better than last year. But that'll be to be determined. So let's go through the first couple picks. They take Tim Defner. He's okay. Grady Emerson goes number 2. Definitely a guy I was targeting. And then they take Andy Newell, a nice player. And then Ballantyne goes number 4. So he was the other guy we were really looking at. Not the end of the world. I'm sure they'll still be good players at 11. Let's go through that now. CJ Sampson, not really my type, although it looks like he has some batting ratings. Looks like a pretty decent hitting prospect, as well as an okay pitcher, but just doesn't throw very hard. Joe Bryles is okay. Connor Langdon, same story. John Moore has some upside, but no defense. Dan Pawson's fine. Trey Rangle's interesting. Kyle Johnson's really nice, but I don't like the 3-pitch pitchers. I've talked about that a ton throughout the years of playing this. I mean, Liam Peterson, man, holy crap. This is a legit arm. 4-pitch guy, right up my alley. Definitely at the top of my board at the moment. Nick Bradley's a 3-pitch guy. Jason DeCaro, a guy who wound up being a really good player for us in the Miami series. Really like Jason DeCaro. Yeah, he would be number 2 on my board right now. If not, I mean, it'd be close. We'll have to compare the two, but he looks pretty good. Parker Detmers is nice, but a 3-pitch guy. Kevin Roberts, these are okay high school upside guys. Probably not here, though. I don't like them as much with this pick. Yeah, I doubt I'll like anyone down here, but we can at least look through some college dudes. That's like the best college hitter, I guess. Trent Caraway is not very well developed for a 22-year-old. Hunter Dietz is okay. Daniel Covett, yeah. Missed on a ton of those guys throughout the years. This guy's all right. And I don't think we have a comp pick this year or anything. No, we don't. But we have an early-ish second-round pick. So, I think the guys I like the most, Liam Peterson and Jason DeCaro. I mean, Peterson's definitely the better prospect. So let's compare those two. You see the stuff potential much higher for Liam Peterson, but the control much better for DeCaro. DeCaro is probably a little bit better developed, just barely with your control. Stamina's a little bit better for DeCaro. Peterson throws a little harder. I like Jason DeCaro. I mean, just maybe that's just because I really liked him in the Marlins trade or the Marlins series. But Peterson has the high work ethic, high intelligence as well. 21 years old, really nice build. DeCaro, 20 years old, really nice build. Also has high work ethic, high leadership. Again, it's kind of a picker flavor, I think, with these two. They think Peterson can be a middle of the rotation arm. DeCaro, for him, he also say middle of the rotation. Man, it's tough. Fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. This guy has fastball, slider, changeup, curveball, changeup. So some very similar pitch mix. Peterson just has a little bit better stuff. But definitely not the control that DeCaro has, which makes me kind of lean toward him. I think he has a better floor in that regard. But Peterson, man, he could be a really, really fun top of the rotation guy. And the OSA freaking loves him. College junior. The control does worry me. It worries me a bit. Okay, what are their demands? So Peterson's slot, which would be 6.29 million. DeCaro is 8 million for his demand. Has much better numbers. I guess they just don't have his high school eligible from high school, but his current status is a college junior. That's odd. I wonder why that's doing that, because he's definitely a college dude. DeCaro is almost a year younger, already a little bit better developed. It really shouldn't be a competition. Peterson probably looks like the better player. You know what? I took Jason DeCaro in the Marlins series. Let's take Liam Peterson. Let me just demand at slot value. And who knows? Maybe DeCaro's there. He's not. Wonder where he wound up going, though. Go to the draft log. Wow, he wound up falling all the way to the second round, 6th pick. That sucks. If we were just a little bit earlier, we probably could have snagged him, but unfortunate. Let's go back to the pool, though. Sure, there's still some good players here. So Kyle Johnson, that lefty, has some hitting ratings, but I don't know. It might be better to shoot for a little bit more upside with a hitter here. Because we already do have a lot of good pitching prospects in the system. Deion Cole is another guy I think we definitely had him on the Marlins team. I don't know if we traded for him or if we drafted him. Hunter Diaz, nice high floor pitcher. Elwonger's pretty nice, actually. Has low intelligence, but throws hard. Really nice build, 6'5". Fastball, slider, curveball, all legit pitches. The changeup is mediocre, but fine. But the control does concern me. Olin Johnson, kind of the same story with him. Okay, I'm going to go through some of these high school guys, see if there's anyone who intrigues me, and then we'll come back with a pick. Okay, so despite there being some good pitching options, we're going to go with a high school hitter here. Aiden Benefield, pretty good defensive player, good work ethic, good all-around bat, and could be a decent player, although he has a high demand now that I'm looking at it. So we actually can't even afford that. Okay, back to the drawing board. So the other guys that I liked were Rocky McKendry, who's has a really nice floor at age 18. As an outfielder, the defense is okay. Actually quite like him. But I mean, the pick that I would normally go with is not these guys. James Elwanger. And maybe this is the pick here anyway. He has really nice upside, a good floor as a 22-year-old. So you could also go with a guy like Deion Cole, who has some nice upside, as a good defender, has some speed, good leader. Tyrese Hainsworth is interesting. He doesn't really have positional home. Rocky McKendry, yeah, I like him. Yeah, there's just not a ton that I love here. A lot of players that I like, but this guy's all right. Potentially. High school guys are, I don't know, a 20% hit rate. At least high school, or college, you're like maybe 35% hit rate. Eric Decker, I like. If we bring him to the lab to work in his defense, maybe he can make something work. He has a good floor, which is nice, but the defense not really there. I think it's worth a risk, though, with Eric Becker. So, you know what? Let's take him here. Yeah, let's do Eric Becker. So third round, I think we should take Nick Bradley. I'm not opposed, but I also don't really see the upside as a starter. Aiden Benefield's still here. Rocky McKendry still... Okay, yeah, we're going to take Rocky McKendry. He was a guy I was looking at in the last round. I just really like his floor. Although James Tronstein is also pretty good. He has a little bit of a higher demand, not too much higher than Slot. Maybe Olin Johnson's the pick. Fastball, slider, curveball, changeup. Decently developed for a 21-year-old, but not anywhere crazy along in his development cycle. The control is definitely an issue. Spencer Browning is interesting. I like his defense. Let's go with Spencer Browning. I think he has some good upside. And if the infield doesn't work out, he's also a good defender in the outfield. So could be a versatile player. Let's go for him. And we have $1.3 million for these last two picks. Then we have to go slop the rest of the way. I mean, the fact that Olin Johnson's still here makes me kind of want to take him. Benefield's too expensive. And there weren't a ton of other players down here that I loved just when I was sifting through earlier. There could be some okay guys, though, that I'm just glossing over. Yeah, don't hate this. Don't hate Macon Winslow. The defense isn't there yet, but it's possible you can develop that. Although catcher is the hardest position to develop. All right, I'm going to jump off, finish the draft. We'll come back with the results just because these next couple picks are probably going to take a little bit. So we'll come back with the results of the draft. All right, so the depth in this draft wound up being actually worse than last year, pretty significantly. So I went with Eric Becker in the second round, went with Liam Peterson in the first. So third round, we went with Spencer Browning. The fourth round, it was Nate Britton, who had a low demand and is a pretty nice player. We took Olin Johnson, who was there in the fifth. It was just too good a value to pass up at that point. And then things really fell off. Macon Winslow, I liked him. I was actually considering him in the fourth round. A guy that fell in the sixth. And then, things really fell off for that. Chase Cruson, Tug Paul Olek. And honestly, these guys aren't even worth talking about because I don't know if any of them are even minor league talents. Like my last pick was just this random dude, just because there was really literally no one else. So yeah, it was a brutal draft, but at least the first couple picks you could feel good about. And yeah, we'll oh, these guys want shoot. Okay, I think we have a little bit of money. Okay, they don't want us to sign. That's fine. This guy was interesting enough. But yeah, okay. That's the draft. Then we'll approach the deadline, go over any trades, and we'll be back with that. All right, so we have a couple more trades to announce. A couple trades with the Phillies. I should have just done them both in one, but whatever. It kind of just wound up like this. So Carlos Estevez, not having a great year or anything, but giving up a few too many home runs. But overall, has a decent track record as a reliever. Didn't have to give much to get him. We just threw in a 25-year-old minor league reliever. We could have given up like a, nothing AAA 35-year-old, but this felt a little more fair. We made that trade to strengthen our bullpen just a bit. And then a couple more trades. Johan Rojas, a guy I've been looking to trade for this series, was finally available on the cheap. So I wound up flipping Sean Dubin, who's a 30-year-old minor leaguer. It doesn't seem like a big return for the Phillies, but they're a win-now team. He's actually a pretty damn good arm. Like, definitely could have been usable in the majors. So we flip, a major league-ready reliever starter to the Phils for Rojas, who, has his faults with the bat, but is a good defender, a righty, good speed. Is definitely a useful player. And then C.J. Abrams went out and got him. He was also on the cheap from St. Louis. Looks like he wound up there at some point. Looks like it was a trade for Brendan Donovan. And all it took giving up was Nick Robertson, who'd kind of fallen out of favor with the team after, 1.5 rough seasons. After being pretty solid in the first year, he just could not figure it out, and I couldn't keep trotting him out there, but he'll probably be really good back in St. Louis. But we brought in Estevez, so that kind of made him expendable. And also we just gave Tim Anderson to get off of his contract and his roster spot. So we didn't have to eat the $740,000. So that worked out well. Abrams is a nice player. Has really good outfield defense, and also his infield defense is quite good as well. So he's going to be a super utility type of player, going to take Anderson's spot in the infield as our backup guy there. Probably going to mix in a lot of different positions. These guys are playing well enough where I don't really feel the need to mix him in at a certain time. But maybe he gets a couple reps at third base a week. Maybe he's every sixth game there. I don't even feel like the need to take Marte out. He's been so freaking good. But Abrams will definitely play a role on this team moving forward. And then we have Rojas too, which is really nice. Have a speed guy. So I think this team's pretty freaking set. Moving here into the next part of the season, probably could move Yelich out of the 9-hole. He's been bad, but he hasn't been quite that bad. And this definitely helps us against lefties, where Churio had been playing. I actually moved Churio to left field. But we could have Rojas platoon with Perkins out in center, which is probably a little bit better than Mauricio Dubon, who we'd been previously using. Wound up DFAing him. He had a 51 WRC plus or something. Ross is probably just a little bit better of a player, so he'll fit into that role pretty well, I think. We'll use Mitchell as our backup in the corners. Maybe we'll even just use Rojas as our backup. Yeah, we'll keep Mitchell. We'll let him get a couple at bats against lefties if he needs to, and then we'll put Abrams back as our backup infielder. I mean, this team looks pretty freaking good. Coming here into the second half, we don't really have any massive holes. Hopefully, this bullpen can figure itself out. We called up Mazurski again. We'll see if his time in the minors did him any well. We got Leiter. We have Estevez. The rest of the bullpen, I feel pretty good about. This long reliever spot will be filled by a couple different guys. In this last bullpen spot, I should say, not just long reliever, but Blaylock will be there for now. And McClanahan was definitely solid in his first start. 6 2/3, 3 runs, did give up 7 hits, but only 1 walk, 9 Ks. Really nice start. Vieira has been much better, pitching a little bit more often. And then Uribe, Spire has been excellent, and McGill in our closer's role has not been great. He could definitely get booted at some point. Spire, I'd love to throw in there at this point. We'll see if he winds up taking that spot. But, yeah, I don't really know if there's a ton else we can do. There was plenty of guys out on the trade block, but we went for some more bargain bin hunting. I did have a trade with Tanner Scott lined up from the Padres, if I could find them. I did have a trade. It was a 1-for-1. I believe it was Tanner Scott for Eric Batoni, who just has not been able to hit at any level throughout the save, besides a small stint in rookie ball. He's been so bad, and I just really don't see him making it to the majors at any point. So this was the trade, and it still might happen, but just not probably today. I love Tanner Scott. I think he'd be a great fit on this team. But we're going to see if we can make this work before we go and make this trade. It's not a huge deal or anything. Batoni's not really a major league player in my mind, but Sky's making $13 million. We'd be on the hook for about $6 million of that, which actually isn't even that bad now that I'm looking at it. And they're actually willing to eat a bit more than they were previously. Are they? They're willing to. Okay, yeah. And this is a completely different story. When you look at it like this, yeah, I think this makes a ton of sense actually. And that would push Blaylock probably back to the minors, or maybe it's Mazurski. I'm not really sure. But if we could pick up this lockdown closer, man, that'd be awesome. We're just going to pull the trigger. Let's go for it. Batoni's a nice player, but I just don't really see it. With the low avoid Ks, he's already 20, hasn't done anything in A-ball or high A. I pushed him up there. So yeah, let's pull the trigger on that trade. Let's just do it. Let's go for it this year. And that does push us up against it with the 40-man stuff again. So Chase Silseth did get sent down to the minors, but we'll keep him on the 40. Xavier Warren's a guy I'm probably considering here, DFAing. I've given him a good enough opportunity in the majors, just has not done anything. Is there a market for him of any sort? There's not. So I think we could pass him through waivers here. But if we don't, if he gets claimed, that's fine. But we do need that 40-man spot here. So we'll add Tanner Scott. We'll send down Blaylock for the moment. He'll definitely be back up. But, man, sliding in Tanner Scott there and getting McGill into a lower leverage position, that really deepens this bullpen a ton. And I love this. So we'll rock with this for now. Honestly, this doesn't even matter because I trust all of these dudes in here now. So, yeah, we completely revamped our bullpen. And then the lineup looks pretty freaking good coming into the second half here. So we'll sim a few days, see if anything happens, and then we'll come back with the final thoughts in this first half. We'll be back. All right, so we are here July 30th. Because I screwed up the schedule, the All-Star game is right here at the deadline, which actually makes a bit of sense. But as for our All-Stars, we had a few. So you can check out the AL guys there. A lot of, unsuspecting names. Honestly, a majority of them are, at least pitching-wise. But Brandon Woodruff making the All-Star team. Good for him. That's excellent. They actually signed him to a 2-year extension, so even with the reduced stamina, he's been a great pitcher for them. And that trade seems to be mutually beneficial because George Kirby has been sensational this year, and we still have him for a few more seasons. And Tyler Black for them has been excellent, but did get hurt, it looks like. What happened to him? Herniated disc twice. That's not good. But he's had a good year when he's been out there. Definitely a mutually beneficial trade. As for our guys, George Kirby does make it, having a great season for us. Once again, no Freddie Peralta. Definitely a worse year than he did 2 years ago when he got snubbed. But yeah, Kirby is our only pitcher here. And then for our hitters, a little bit surprising to not see... what's his name? Our second baseman. Oh my God, Noelvi Marte for second base, but it's a deep position. Tommy Troy's been good, and Nico Horner as well, so not too surprising, but he has had an all-star worthy season. But then in the outfield with Jackson Chourio, of course, he's had a great first half. I guess quite a bit more than the half of the year. It's been 92 games. And then Juan Soto as well has had a incredible first half of the season, way better than his first year here. His walk rate's gone up 5%, which is just ridiculous. On pace for 6.3 WAR. He's been worth every penny so far. And yeah, that brings us to the deadline here. And we'll quickly run through stats. We went through Soto, went through Chourio. Blake Perkins has been great in a part-time role this year, finally showing us what he can do offensively in a more steady role this season. Garrett Mitchell has been awesome once again. Brock Wilkins had a great first half of the season in a part-time / more less part-time, more full-time as we kind of phase out Yelich here. He's been great. Noelvi Marte has been a huge surprise. I thought he'd be good when we picked him up in that trade with Cincinnati, but he's been amazing, really filling a huge void left at second base. Carlos Correa, when he's been out there, he's been awesome. Only played 60 out of 98 games. So he's missed a bit of time, but he's been great, worth every bit that we're paying him when he's been out there. William Contreras has had a huge bounce back year. We keep talking about that, but it really has been on pace for 30 home runs, which would be a by far career high. At 118 WRC plus, he's been great. Jefferson Kiro is bounced back after a tough start. 94 WRC plus, on pace for 2.5 WAR. He's had a great first half overall. Christian Yelich has not been great. The walk rate's still really good. The strikeouts are good. Something just not been there this year. The power hasn't been quite as much as it's been the last 2 years. He's still hitting for enough power, but the average is just way down this year. So maybe just getting toward the end of his career here. He has 2 more seasons after this under team control. Ryan McMahon has definitely fallen off since a hot start with the bat, but still on pace for 20 home runs, a 92 WRC plus, playing a good enough third base defense. He's back up to a neutral zone rating, which is good. So hopefully only up from here. But we're not really on the hook for a ton of his contract, so whatever we get from him is kind of house money. CJ Abrams hasn't done too much since he's been on the team, but he's just a role player on the squad. And then Johan Rojas has barely played. Just haven't faced a lot of lefties, but you can see we're 63 and 35, and a lot of that's been the pitching and the offense. So the pitching, we talked about George Kirby pretty quickly, but not enough said with him. Freddie Peralta, although the strikeout rate is down, his results have been excellent. On pace for 200 innings, 3.42 ERA. Tanner Bybee, definitely been better recently after this blow-up start. He's had 3 really good starts in a row. Definitely a quality of the middle rotation guy. DL Hall's been really good as well. The walks are still an issue. The strikeouts haven't quite been there. But overall, he's a nice middle rotation guy. And then Shane McClanahan, 3 starts. He's been excellent for us. 18 innings, an ERA under 3. Strikeout, walk, home run stuff looks really good as well. So definitely so far so good with McClanahan. Tanner Scott has been lights out in 5 innings since we picked him up. Trevor McGill's been much better as of late. Gabe Spire's been incredible this season. Vieira's been really good when we've called on him. He hasn't really pitched much, but he's a role player on this team. Carlos Estevez has yet to pitch with us. We just haven't needed him because our starters have gone so late into games. Mark Leiter has not been good in 2 appearances, but only 2 appearances. We'll see how his season plays out. Abner Uribe did struggle his last outing, but overall a fine season. And Jacob Mazorski, since calling him back up, he's gone 3 1/3, 4 innings, 3 1/3, and only given up 1 run. So he's been really, really good since being recalled. So yeah, that's all good stuff. As for the rest of the team, we've gone through a lot of these relievers. Not a ton of change. Chase Silseth still down in AAA after a brutal start to the season. We'll see if he gets back up to the majors. But yeah, I really want to go through before we take off. Ton of green here, as you can see. I think the trade that we made was, was it after? I think it was right here. It was right after the Padres series. We made those bunch of trades. This was the first game with the new team, and we rattled off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 straight wins after that trade. It was awesome. And then we lost 3 in a row to the Yankees and Pirates, and then we won the last one. But overall, a really, really, really good first half. Up 3 games in the division on the Cardinals. And the wild card's not too competitive. We should be in good shape for a playoff spot, regardless if it's the division or the wild card. But yeah, that's where we'll leave things. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.